Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Ralena here from the Canton Youth Symphony, and today we are talking about our bow, and not your cute little hair bow, but your actual bow of your instrument. So the first thing that I want you to know is that it is very important to put your bow away and take it out correctly of the case. So as you can see here, I have my case, it's open, and I actually have 3 bows. The bow on the top is a viola bow. This one right here it's super old. It's actually colored, and back in the 90s when it was super cool to have colored hair, mine used to be lime green, and now it's really old like me, so it's just kind of yellow. And then my last bow down here is my actual playing bow that I use for my violin. So when I put it away, I always want to make sure that the tip of it gets protected. So you can see that there's this little house thing right here, and that's where the tip of the bow goes. Down here at the bottom, you have your latch-in, a little screw thing, and you want to make sure that it goes in between the hair and the stick, and then you latch it upright. So this one right here is not latched, and you can easily pull it out. This one down here is latched. It will not come out. My bow is safely tucked in there and protected. So when I take it out, I want to make sure that I turn the screw and just slide it out. Be very, very careful. The tip, don't whack it on anything when you pull it out. Same thing when you put it in, you want to slide it, tip in first, and then in between the stick and the hair for the screw. So the next thing that we're going to talk about with our bow is we're actually going to talk about the parts of it, just so that way you know what it is that I'm talking about in our future reference videos. So this part up here you've already heard me talk about is the tip, and it's got this little kind of like a bubble thing up here at the end, and if you are one of those kiddos that gets frustrated and likes to bang on the stand with your bow and tap it, this little tip will break off. If that little tip breaks off, you've just broken your bow. It will not make your mom happy, it will not make your dad happy, and it will not make your teacher very happy. So please make sure that you keep everything intact up here. The tip. This long part right here is obviously called the stick, and it is very important that your stick stays curved in. You notice how my hair is pointed towards the ceiling, but the stick has a nice little arc in it. That is very important. I will show you the difference here in a second. The hairs are obviously up here. Do not touch the hairs. A lot of times you will hear that if teachers tell you not to touch their hair, you'll ruin the bow. That is true to an extent. You don't want to pet your hairs. It is horsehair, but you don't pet it. Most of the hairs now are synthetic material, which means that they're man-made, so no horses were harmed in the video, in the making of this bow. So the hairs are up here. Down here, this little part right here, this is the frog, like ribbit, ribbit, frog. We have the grippy, that's this part right here, and that's actually what your index finger rests on. And then we have this end part, which is called the adjustment screw. A lot of my little kiddos like to call it the twisty thingy because it actually twists. I'm going to show you that right now. So when we tighten our bow, which we have to do before we play, you want to go righty to make it tighty. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. So I'm going to twist it to the right to make it tight. And if you look very carefully in between the stick and the hair, you can see it's separating. My stick is now not as beautifully arced as what it was before. So I'm going to loosen it and you'll see it shrink together. I'm going to the left. And you can see there's not as much of a difference in between the stick and the hair. So again, I'm going to tighten it. And we can see that growing apart. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is very important. How do you know when your bow is tight enough? Well, there's a couple different ways. Number one, the tip of your pinky, not your thumb, not your index finger, the tip of your pinky fits in between the stick and the hair. Don't shove it all the way through, that's not what I'm talking about. It just fits comfortably in there. That's plenty tight. The other way that you can tell is that your arc for the stick is still there. It's not as beautiful as what it was when we first pulled it out of the case and it was really loose and it had a giant orc in it. This one is just a nice little rainbow or frowny face. I like rainbows better. Okay? That's how you know that your bow is tight enough. If, ladies and gentlemen, you over-tighten your bow, you will see this. My stick is straight. The distance in between the stick and the hair is the width of my thumb. This equals badness. This goodness. This badness. If you put too much tension on this, there's lots of things that could go wrong. Number one, the screws on the inside of the frog, you'll strip the gears on them and then it's broken. Again, mom and dad not so happy because then they have to buy you another bow. The tension on the stick, it will warp it. And again, broken. Nothing you can do to fix it. And the last thing is we all know that as strings players, we have a tendency to drop things. It happens. We set our bows down, they fall, they accidentally hit the stand. If your tension is too tight on that string and you drop it or hit it on the stand or whatever the case may be, it will fall apart. The hairs at the top will actually let go and it'll go poof and you'll have hairs everywhere. At that point, again, your bow is broken. There is no fixing it. So we have good bow, bad bow. Do this. Don't do this. All right, and now as we are preparing to play, we also need to put rosin on our bow. The rosin is like tree sap and it makes your hairs sticky, kind of, so that way it grips onto the string. So what I use is this Piastro Gold Flex. This is my favorite rosin. I've used it for years. It's gold. It's got a nice base to it. It's not too dark. It gives me the sound quality that I want. Ladies and gentlemen, there are hundreds of types of rosins out there. It's really a preference on what you like and what sound you are desiring. The gold, the lighter rosins give you a little bit of a lighter, fluffier feeling. They're easier for me to pull across the strings. If you go with a darker rosin, it gives it a little bit darker sound. It's a little bit more harsher for my personal taste. So I like the Gold Flex. And when you rosin your bow, ladies and gentlemen, the rosin goes onto the hairs and you just go up and down. You should, depending on how much you practice, which hopefully is every day, you should rosin your bow about every other day. If you are doing that, I like to tell my students the magic 3 swipes. And the magic 3 swipes is this. 1, 2, 3, good enough for me. That's the magic 3 swipes. If you're practicing every other day, rosin it, use the magic 3 swipes, and you're golden. You're good to go. After you have your rosin applied, you are ready for your practice session. So this is our little mini session on the bow. Please, please, please remember to loosen your bow before putting it back in the case. If you keep it tight, you will ruin it. I promise you will ruin it over time. Keep your bow loose before packing it up. How do you know it's loose? Well, you've got hairs. Thank you for joining us.